Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. This is Julie Bruns, and you are about to be inspired. I am so excited to share my conversations with amazing people from all walks of life who figured out how to be happy, peaceful, and content doing work they love and making the world a better place so that you can see what's possible for your life. I can't wait to hear what you think. Send me an email and let me know one thing you're taking away from this episode. And never forget, anything really is possible. So welcome to this episode, everyone. My guest today is Kassy LaBorie. And Cassie and I, it's the first time we're chatting, but we met, well, we didn't meet. I saw her. She was presenting a virtual webinar through Training Pros. It's the way I keep current on all what's happening in the training, learning, development environment. And Cassie was presenting that day. And I could tell, Cassie, that you loved what you did, which is what this podcast is all about. And so whenever I come across someone who's like so excited about what they're doing and wants everyone else to, embrace whatever concept they're talking about, it's just, I love it. So I reached out to you and said, come on, be on my podcast. So here we are today chatting. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here and to get to spend some time with you today.
Yes, me too. Okay, so I know a little bit about what you do. So the premise about, either talking about virtual training, you mentioned you wrote a book, so we can talk about that a little bit if you want. But have you been in training and development your whole career? How did you get to this spot in your career to what you're doing now? I've been a trainer for a really long time, but I didn't like set out to be a trainer. I set out to be a teacher, actually. So what was your original goal?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, it's funny how often you talk to trainers and you ask them, did you intend to be a trainer? And most of the time the answer is, well, no. I ended up there. And I would say the same thing. I went to college in San Francisco. From San Francisco State, I went to get a degree in public speaking. And then I added on to that acting. And ultimately, what I loved most was the theater and the acting, but I did not love the auditions and the idea of working only on the weekends and in the evenings. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, through that degree and through the exploration of the classes and the programming that they offered, I found learning and development. And so I did come out of college getting a training degree, essentially is what it ended up being for me. I became a Microsoft trainer right out of college. And so I was doing technical training in the San Francisco Bay Area. And ultimately that led to driving down the 101 and seeing a big billboard that featured RuPaul. And RuPaul was running an ad campaign along with WebEx at the time. And I was a technical trainer. I became a technical trainer with WebEx, teaching people how to use it. And that was the late 90s. And it was really fun, actually, because the software was so new and exciting. And you think you get nervous being online today with an online meeting, roll it back to the late 90s, and it was sure to break every time you click start. So it's quite something. But that was really fun those days at WebEx. And I always say that RuPaul had a big hand in that, because I thought any company that's running an ad campaign with RuPaul, I'm in.
So fun. I'm the same way, where I just see literally signs like you saw driving that day. I see a sign, and if I'm not driving and my husband's driving, I'll put a note in my phone right away to look up that company or look up that idea or something. And if I am driving, I just envision it and try to remind myself to look at it later. But there's a reason you saw that sign and it called to you for whatever reason. And it made you get on the internet probably, or get on the phone and call WebEx and see what was, what this was all about.
Well, they were hiring for a marketing. They needed someone to run demos for marketing. And when I went in for the interview, they said, you know what, you're too much of a trainer. We're hiring for that too. Go over there. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously I'm a trainer.
Oh my gosh.
The marketing people were even like, you are such a trainer. You need to go talk to them.
That's so funny. And you probably would have been done just fine as market, because we end up as trainers, we end up doing the demos for the salespeople because we know the product or whatever we're training on better than they do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's they could see it in me way back then, that I was more about helping people and we trainers, we want to help everybody. And so I guess they could see that I was more about that than there's an angle of the performance and the product that I also love, but my heart was in the helping people use it side of it. And that's so cool to me that they were able to see it right away.
That is cool. When you were right about them, something about that sign drew you to them, and they hired RuPaul, and that also spoke to you. And so I'm not surprised that they said, okay, well, you'd be better. That's happened to me a couple of times too. In my career, I'm interviewing for one job, and they're like, we actually have this over here. You can go to. Yeah. That's why I tell people always go, even if it's a thing that you think you're under or overqualified for or whatever, like there's a reason that you connected with this company, just do it. And you never know what's going to come out of it.
Right. I know if you like the company and you're interested in what's going on, if the role's not perfect, you just don't know. It's not like hiring managers and leaders have every single answer immediately. They're exploring as much as we are. So
yes, that's a great point. It's a great point. Okay, so you're a trainer at WebEx, and you are you wrote a book. Obviously, there's a trajectory from the late 90s to now. What were you doing along the way as you were moving along in your career to remain happy, peaceful, and content, and doing work that you loved?
I know that's the thing. I feel so fortunate. I really enjoyed reading your book because the things that are in there are giving some context to some of the experiences that I've had. And I remember thinking, I love what I'm getting to do. And I kind of want to do it my way. I know, and I think it's so interesting in thinking about, when you went to college, is this the degree you thought you'd get? Well, no, I just wanted to do it my way. And the answer to the degrees that you get never made any sense to me. And so the answer to the job that I was supposed to have was also quite unclear throughout my entire career, because I've always wanted things to just be the way that I want them to be. And I think that staying true to that without too much fear, because don't think it didn't come without what's wrong with me. Staying true to that, though, is what helped me to figure out where I'm at today and how I live in that place of, as you suggest, peace and possibility, because I'm choosing to do the things that are making me the happiest. And when I'm happy doing those things, I'm really good at it. And then I just can't wait to share it. And it's like, I guess it's, it's what you saw in the webinar. I love this. I'll talk about it on the weekends, I'll talk about it outside of business hours, and the way that I work today, I don't even know really what business hours are, because I work globally, but then so much of my work is what I like to do. So
it ends up being, I know, I feel the same way. Like I'm always reading about it. I'm reading books, I'm reading articles, I'm attending webinars. It's like, because it's just in your blood, and it's something that you're passionate about, which is why you end up being successful at it, because it's just there. You don't have to say, I have to motivate myself to do this ABC. You don't. You're already you're intrinsically motivated to do it.
Yeah, I know. And like it's so interesting. It's not like it comes without challenges, though, because there are times. I mean, we're human. There are times when I'm like, I don't want to write that article, And then I'll do things, though. I'll do things like attend a webinar of a colleague or a friend or somebody that's speaking on a topic that I like, or I'll connect with one of the many online networking groups that I'm part of and get inspired. And those kind of things, like you mentioned in your book, actually, connections and just possibilities, what else can be going on. And those things will reinvigorate me and then get me back to that place of, I really do love this. I just needed a moment, don't be too hard on yourself.
That's so smart. And I teach my kids this too. It's not like, and I talk about this in my book, but like you sit down to do the writing or whatever it is you need to be doing, or produce or create or whatever, and you're not feeling it for whatever reason, but sitting there and trying to feel it never makes it come faster. It's getting up and, like you said, doing something else to inspire you, whether it's getting outside and going for a walk or reading something or just talking with a friend or whatever, or a colleague, whatever it is. But you get your mind off of it. It's like what they say in the shower, you're in the shower, you get your inspiration because you don't have to think about anything, and you just, things hit you and literally, and you come up with new ideas. And that's what's so important. Like it's not the struggle that's going to get you out of it. It's the opposite. It's changing the vibration, changing the way you're feeling about it.
Changing the approach. I know I one time got some advice from Carl Kopp, who is known in the L&D world for gamification and various things. He's awesome. A good dude. And I went to one of these networking groups one day. I had like writer's block, and I had deadlines for the most recent book that I published. And I couldn't figure out what to write. And he goes, just start writing things like, I don't know what I should be writing right now. And I thought, really, that's going to work? Yeah. And I had attended this little networking group for like 30 minutes. And then when I was done, had lunch, came back and wrote, I don't know what I'm supposed to be writing. I'm supposed to be doing this book on virtual production, and what people want to know about it is. And then I started going, and I'm like, how did that work with one sentence? So
that's why I love those little tips like that. Something new you hadn't thought about before, like, is that going to work? Well, guess what? It takes you 2 seconds to figure out if it's going to work. That's the other nice thing about stuff like that. If it didn't work, you're not really out a lot of time or money. You just try the thing that you think you should try and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love
I don't know if you read that book, The Big Leap, but I have him. I'm coming up on my podcast. Gay Hendricks is his name. The Big Leap. It kept being recommended to me at the beginning of the new year, so I read it. But I read it in one day. I haven't done that in years. But he talks about what you were saying, your zone of genius, he calls it. But that thing like that you want to do all the time, the thing that lights you up, the thing that you talk about and could do in your sleep, but also you are always excited to learn more about. And staying in that zone of genius is, and how like enlightening it is, but how much better the world would be if everyone just did that, because then you have people that are like you, loving what you're doing, and it comes through to the people that you're trying to impact. And there's no accident to it. It's like, what your zone of, usually, what your zone of genius is, especially like mid-career. And there are people that just like stay away for whatever reason, and they can't get back to that thing that gives them that spark. And that thing that gives you the spark is the whole road to happiness and success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, there's some things in place, like you got to get some confidence behind you, and you got to have a little bit of support around you too, making connections with other people that you look up to. And I really keep going back to how you wrote about possibilities, because I think that we can shut ourselves down. And if you could just say, well, what, I don't know how to do that, so let me see if I could reach out to some people who do know how to do it. And maybe they'll help me. Like it happened to me right before the pandemic. I was writing a new presentation that I was going to be giving in a new format. One of those super session formats where you're on the stage with other people that are on the stage, and the audience gets to use a headset and click into who they're going to listen to.
Oh,
it's a stressful way to present. But on another note, I was like, what am I going to present? And I needed it to be more of a storytelling. And I'm kind of known for practical hands-on, do this, let's do it together type of presenting and training. And so for me, I wanted to move more into storytelling and ideas and inspiration. And I ended up coming up with, long story short, the virtual training hero. The virtual training hero was born out of this, because I followed the hero's journey, the 12 steps of the hero's journey, and how a person working in corporate L&D is actually basically Harry Potter or Wonder Woman, and I went through the whole thing of telling this story. Through that, though, I'm making the presentation materials, and I'm a creative. I'm not necessarily an artist. And, I can go look for things, but at the time, there wasn't really any kind of visual that was capturing the virtual training hero for me. And I'm just going, where can I get this? Where can I get this? And I need it like in a month. How can it happen? And it just occurred to me, I live in Rochester, New York, and we have a really great college close by, the Rochester Institute of Technology. And I know there's a lot of art going on there. I posted the job. I'm like, I need some art. And I'm still friends with this girl today. I interviewed her. She, acted on the post, and now I have all this original art, and it's perfect. And I can contact her for more, and we keep growing it. And it's funny, we have the before the pandemic versions, we have the after the pandemic versions, and they're a lot more mature. It's so funny. But it's great. Like the possibility, okay, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it, but where could I maybe reach out to other people around me? And it didn't have to be at that time, $1 million to have original art made for me. It was actually very accessible. And then, Sideline is contributing to the growth of her career, because she went on to graduate. She wants to make film, and I'm still connected with her. And one day she's probably going to be famous. Pretty cool.
I love that. When you sought something that wasn't your skill set, you sought out someone else that can help you. And then, like you said, you're contributing to her growth, and then she gets to use that to elevate her career and show off what she can do. And then she got to help you, and then you have this new connection. It's just so, it really is that easy. And I think some people just don't. I grew up with a father who was always like, just try that. My dad was always he's the reason I'm so resourceful, because he would just say, well, like, let's go look it up. Maybe, it was back when encyclopedias were a big thing, let's go look it up. Let's go over that book and look up E, and then we'll find it under the E's, and we'll research it. And if we can't find it here, we'll go to the library. It's like, there's always just like, we'll just keep asking questions so we have the answer. And that's where my love of education and just learning came from. But it's also, it can't just be that simple. Ask someone else, send that email, reach out to someone you don't know, connect with someone on LinkedIn. I'm doing it constantly, but it's just, if it's born of this like true, a genuine curiosity or need or whatever, people always respond to it. I've never heard, people always respond to it in a positive way.
They do. And what's interesting is that I think that when we're younger, or if we're newer in our career or in the place that we're at, we might feel a little nervous, like I'm supposed to know it all. I remember that when I first launched my business. It'll be 5 years in June, actually. I thought, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know how to run a business. And I was so afraid to, and even at that age, I wasn't a baby, when I did it. And I was so afraid, but the reality is you don't have to know it all. There are people who do know that. And I'm in a position now where people, I still reach out for guidance and help, and, wanting to continue to learn in new ways and different things, but people reach out to me too. And it's really wonderful. Sometimes I'm like, wait, they're reaching out to me. Well, of course they're reaching out to me. Why wouldn't they? In the same way that
I know stuff. I know stuff that they don't know. Just like they know stuff that I don't know. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that when I was finishing my book. I had a lot of it written, but there's like a couple of things I needed to tweak. And I needed to help someone. I needed to find someone who would do a hybrid publishing. And I needed to find someone who could help me reach my goal of getting this out the window in the next 3 months. I knew exactly what I needed because I've been working on it for a long time. And I just sent an email to like the smartest people I know in my network. And I said, here's what I need. Who can help me?
Right.
Like, I think I need a coach, but I only need a coach for like 2 or 3 sessions because I know exactly what I need. This isn't a long-term thing. Like, this is my goal, and people are like, you can hire me, you can do this, go reach out to, I had all these answers within a day. And I was on my way. I was like, this is it. I put out the email and said, here's what I need. I'm happy to pay for it. I know exactly what I need. I don't need someone to tell me, have you thought about this? I've thought about it. I've been thinking about it for a year. I know exactly what I need, and I need to get to the finish line. Who can help me? And then all the resources just came to me. This was in September, I think. And I had everything done. My book was done, written, and within a month it was done because I was so close to finishing it, but then it was getting edited. I found a publisher, all of these things. And at the end of December, it was like buttoning everything up.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. And
the key thing is knowing what you needed there. I think this is the advantage, long ago when we entered into the learning and development industry, and we're studying, here's what a goal is, and here are what objectives are. Who knew that ultimately would help us later on in our lives to be more clear about what we wanted?
Yes, exactly.
What do you want? Is it actionable? Put it in actionable format, right, Julie?
Like SMART goals, and it's all relevant, it's all important. But yes, there's different ways of looking at it. So,
we're very lucky, I think. Who knew?
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about when you get advice from people that you interact with. I'm guessing in the training world, because of the world you're in, you probably meet a lot of people that say, how did you become an entrepreneur? Or how do you do what you do? Or you seem to love what you do. How did you get there? Or what did you study? And people are asking for advice on getting a meaningful career, like this girl that you hired to do your art. She probably asked you questions. What do you say to people when they're asking you questions about career advice?
I think that I like to think about, it's easy to say, follow your heart, follow your passion. But, that's pretty difficult because, you want to go to those SMART objectives again. Well, what does that mean? And I think in looking at where, for me, I guess I always value what makes me happy and what do I want to keep doing? And what am I willing to talk about on the weekends, as I mentioned earlier? And it's about really looking at that and saying, how do I, where am I my best me when I'm working, and what could that potentially look like? And if you're not sure what that could look like, that's where I think asking other people, like if there's somebody that you admire, and here's an awkward thing, if there's somebody that you're sort of envious of, or they made you mad or something, for whatever reason, evaluating that and examining that and going, why are you kind of, I think jealousy is kind of an interesting one. If you feel jealous for a moment, why?
Yes.
And then reach out to them, connect with them, learn about them, man. Like, it's amazing because you're probably feeling that sort of terrible emotion because you want it, or you're mad at yourself for not figuring out the way to do it in your way.
Right.
And I think really, really paying attention to yourself and how you're reacting, and then having, the confidence and the support to say, I want to be happy in the things that I'm doing. And how do I go about doing it,
I love what you said about what you said, like what can you, what do you want to do on the weekends? But and you said it in this, you didn't say exactly this way, but I wrote it down this way. What can you not stop talking about, or what can you not stop learning about? Right? Because that's that's the path. That's the thing that you're supposed to, the thing over here that just keeps getting your attention and you never want to stop doing it. Like I'm constantly doing web. I just did one before this, attended a webinar on, they were talking about LMSs and stuff and how to get people aligned with career paths, but it's like every single aspect of this industry and the role that I'm, looking to do next interests me, every single part of it, because it's all fascinating because it's all tied together and it's all about employee development and learning and professional development. And it's fascinating to me. I love talking about it. I think it's important. I get excited when other people have these aha moments and lessons and everything about it is exciting. And I read books about it every week. It's like,
it's like focus. In your case, it's focus, right?
Yeah,
and like,
it's like there's so much.
What parts of it am I also really good at?
Yeah.
That's a thing too. And I think reaching out and testing things is a way to find that out too. Like when over the most recent holiday, we were unable to travel due to the thing that's floating around in the world. Yeah. And we ended up stuck in a hotel for New Year's Eve. Let me just put it that way. It was very fun. My husband and I was fine, but I ended up deciding, what am I going to do for, the year to come in my business? And I decided to, I want to figure out a way to just like reach people in a different way than I have been. And I launched this, let's just hang out. I call it the Virtual Training Hero Hangout. And so once a month, I just thought, I'm going to see if people respond to this and people in my network, and if they'll end up, responding and sharing it. And essentially, I get together with people and I just say, let's talk about something like I'll present. My format is I present for like 10 minutes. Right. And then they network and we talk about it and we enjoy each other and we are completely, for lack of a better word, nerding out on the topic of virtual training and facilitation. And it is so much fun for me. And it is really popular. And I'm getting emails. I'm like, can I share this with my coworkers? I'm like, invite the whole world as far as I'm concerned, because I will literally talk about virtual training on Saturday and Sunday, so let's just hang out and like explore how we can be better at this. And what are you doing? Cause the pressure side will start to come in, like going back to being human, that I mentioned moments ago. Here I am in this position of having done this for over 2 decades, but at the same time, how do I make sure that I know what I'm talking about as it continues to change and as there is so much focus on it today? Right. It used to be really easy. I was kind of like a unicorn before. Well, now everybody's a virtual presenter and trainer. And so how am I going to continue to learn and stay, up to date on things? And the Hangout is inspiring me because there's so many people that are doing so many different things and things that there's no way I would have access to. And I get to learn from that. So as much as they're learning from me, I'm learning from them.
It's so smart. Yeah, I'm always fascinated with when I'm running into people or I'm at conferences and people are talking about these things. Oh, have you ever tried this? Have you ever tried this tool? I'm using this. There's another one, I think Bubble Up, I think is another one I was, Bubble Up.
Yeah.
Some virtual trainer on LinkedIn, a group that I was part of last year. And I was like, no, I've never heard of this tool. And I'm a technical, it's easy for me to learn things quickly too. Like I started out in software technical training also. So it's quick. Like I'm not one of those people that's intimidated when someone says, well, we have to learn this new technology. Yeah. Just show it to me real quick and I'll get it. I have a great memory. All right. I can use it. It's fun to hear about all those new tools, but you're right. Unless you have access to other people that are using them, or you have incorporated it into your daily thing, you wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Bubble Up Classroom, I think it's called.
It's cool. About that. Yeah, so I'm excited there's always something new and I love the change and I love that the people are always improving the platforms. I know a lot of people get nervous about it, but it's like, hey, it's what makes the world go around and it's going to make your life a little bit easier and better every time you.
I don't know, it's like the platform and then the approach, because I can get into kind of like the ways that I do it. I met a woman recently at a conference. It was one of the first in-person conferences that we had in the past year. And she has a doctorate of education in escape game and escape room approach for leadership training.
What?
Exactly my response when I met her. I'm like, okay, A, you're cool. And B, what?
Yeah.
So, long story short, I am very good friends with her today. And I had her write a sample escape game for my book that I have coming out in the fall. So, and then I ran it in Hangout because I wanted to test it because I'm sort of obsessed with this idea of what do we mean when we do escape games? I'm awful at escape games.
Yeah, me too.
The last one I tried to do, which was also the first one I ever did, I didn't escape. So I'm not that good at it. And so, I was a little bit overwhelmed by it, but we held one of the Hangouts on just a couple of months ago, and I ran it, and it's like so exciting and so fun. And it became like more accessible, and we're running it again. We're going to do it again because not everybody could come and they want to see it again. And everyone's so excited about this. And I think the biggest thing that we ended up learning from it is that it's not as difficult as you might think to create and to run and to engage people in different ways in this virtual environment that we're living in. And it's also extraordinarily powerful at the same time, because as a fellow L&D person, the more that we can get them to do and experience, the more effective we're going to be. And escape games, by the nature of it, says, here's some problems, go figure it out.
Right.
I love it so much. I'm sort of like way into it right now.
That's smart. That's so cool. I'm excited. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you this question next, and then the other two, you can decide if you want to answer both. Is there anything you wish you'd learned earlier in your career? Something you found out and then you were like, God, I wish I would have known this sooner.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm pretty hard on myself. And when I was younger, I really was way too hard on myself earlier in my career. Younger, they go together. That it'll be okay. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not have the exact answer, that you're allowed to discover it and you're allowed to work your way through it and make mistakes through that. And I know that maybe that messaging was in my life at some point, but I can't say that I lived by it. I just thought, at the time you're applying for jobs, why do you want this job? I was supposed to know. What skills do you bring? I was supposed to already have them. And part of it is our world, right? Putting that on us. But another part is just, I just wish I had more confidence at that time to say it's okay that I don't know everything.
Yeah. Yes. And really, because no one does, the person who's asking you doesn't, the one who's coming before you or after you doesn't. And yes, I love that. It's so true. You're not supposed to know. I for some reason, for me, that was an easier thing for me to get. Like, I wanted to be good at everything I did, but I was also okay not knowing. I was one of those people who was always asking questions, and maybe that came from my dad also. It was like, I have a question. And then I was almost every single time you ask the question and you're the person in the class, everyone else there's almost usually several people wondering the same thing, if not one or two others. They're just not brave enough to ask, or whatever. They're afraid, they're timid, whatever, introverted, doesn't matter. But I was always like, I'm here. And I used to say this to my kids all the time. One's out of college and one's still in it. But I'm like, they want you to ask questions. The teachers aren't sitting there going, if you knew everything, you wouldn't be in the class. You're supposed to ask questions. They're standing up, they're hoping you're going to ask questions. And it makes it more interesting. And the conversations.
As a trainer and as a facilitator, I actually do not have a job if you don't have questions.
Yeah.
So it's my job to help you feel comfortable enough to challenge you enough to have the questions and to feel comfortable enough to speak up and ask them.
Yes. Bring it on, anything. And like you said, to your point, I'm not, whether I know it or not, it's okay. I'll say I don't know it. I would, especially in software training, because people spent a lot of money on the software they were getting. And, here you are going, here it is. This is everything you can do. They're like, well, can it do this? With their arms, and you're supposed to be like, I think, let me see. And if not, I'm going to get an answer for you. Like, I thought it was supposed to do this. I don't see that. It's like, I would say that to them, the audiences all the time. I'm like, listen, if you can't find the answer in here, I promise there's someone in this company who knows the answer, and I'll find it. Yeah. I always would follow up with them, but it's like, it's okay. I couldn't possibly know every single question you're going to have. I would write them down and put them off. We call it a parking lot. And there you go. And then we'll move on to the other things we need to know. It's fine.
We'll find it. Yeah. And then, you only get better over time, but there's always going to be more. And you kind of hope there will be more, because otherwise it's a little bit boring. So
yes, it can be boring if there's no question. There's no question. Okay. So the final two questions for you. What's the greatest gift that you, Cassie, offer the world every day? And what's one new thing you'll take away from our conversation today?
The greatest gift. I really appreciate that question. I think, it's important to reflect upon those things for ourselves. And there's many people in the world who have difficulty with that. And I fall into that group. And so I actually appreciate you asking me this ahead of time, because I reached out to people. And I said, what do you think it is? And what a wonderful thing to do, by the way, do that for yourself. But one of them was standing out in particular as something that rings very, very true to me. And I think that I have an ability to take something that you think you're not going to like and help you to enjoy it and love it and to even thrive in it. And it's something I do every day. I've been teaching people to be virtual trainers and presenters for the last 2 decades. And almost every time when I meet them, they're like, I used to like my life, and then my boss made me do it in WebEx, and I hate my life now, and I go, don't worry, we're going to make you love it. And not only will you love it, you'll like it better than you liked it before. And so I think I have a gift to do that.
And that's awesome too, because it aligns perfectly with what you do for a living, which obviously is not a mistake either.
Yeah.
Right.
That's funny. Yeah. It's interesting.
It's smart of you to ask other people. I did this exercise years ago, and it was like, what 3 words best describe me? And I asked like my 10 closest friends. And I agree. It's a really great exercise, and it's usually aligned to what you think about yourself anyways, but then you get some new ones like, oh, I never thought about myself this way, but that's another cool, fun thing to do. Like, what 3 things best? And I'll say, this is what I'd like to get back. I'm working on something new in personal development, but I'll also do that for you if you'd like me to. I'll ask the permission. If they don't want that, that's fine. But I'm going to give you 3 words, and I would love for you to give me 3 words. And my friend, one of my greatest friends, she's like, I can only use 3.
I love that.
So we're trying to, not really minimize them, but it was just like the top 3, like what stands out for you about the top 3 traits. So yeah, it's a fun exercise.
I love that too. Like, and there's a number of variations on that kind of opening activity or closing activity. And I love to put the word today at the end of it. What are your top 3 words for today? Because I find that releases some of the pressure of I must choose. I have one opening activity where I go, what's one word that describes you today in your current role? And it's like, it's just an opening. But I used to just say, what's one word that describes you? And it's like stress. Right. But then when I say, what's one word that describes you today in your current role, all of a sudden people are more open to being responsive. And then there's also this sort of sub conversation about how things are always changing and in motion. So
evolving. That's so smart. That's a great tip. I love that. Okay. All right. So, and then what's new? One new thing you're taking away from our conversation today? An insight, an idea, something you're reminded about?
I love this idea. I'm just taking away that I'm super inspired by how your book, the work that you do, the person that you are all come together. And it's exciting to see that represented in you. And I'm taking away from that I have that too. And I'm just noticing it even more. And it's almost like there was like this mirror or something when I saw that you were doing it. I'm going, yeah, I do that as well. I need to honor that. And I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing and how you're inspiring people, because I think not only is it giving people answers if they don't have it, but you're giving people answers if they actually do have it as well, to honor it and to accept it. And I just want you to know that I appreciate that.
I love that. I totally thank you. Thank you for that compliment. And it makes it easy because the people I invite on my show are the people that are mirroring that for the world too, like yourself, people that are doing something they love and showing other people it's possible. It's possible. So you have your own company, but you could do this for a company and love it just as much, maybe more, maybe not have as much flexibility, but it's possible. That's why it's like I talk to people that are entrepreneurs and, all the whole gamut, because not everyone wants to be their own business.
That's such a good point. I did always do it for companies. It was only until 5 years ago that I decided to do it for myself. But even at the last company that I did it for, it wasn't my role. I went to the boss and said, I want to do this. And he said, let's create that and let's do that. And that's actually partly where I learned, and it gave me the foundation when ultimately it was time for me to be on my own. I had that experience and that insight, but it was because we took a risk when I was within an organization. So I think you can do it whether you're self-employed or if you're in an organization. Leaders do love it when you come to them with answers and ideas. I know you wrote about that.
Yes. Yes, you're right. It's not you come and say, I don't want to do this anymore. They don't know what to say to that. But you say, I was thinking about it and I would really love to impact. Yeah. You're providing a solution, not a problem. And even in regular life, come to your husband or your friend or whatever, I have a problem with this. It's like, you can already talk about what you thought about as a solution, and then you get other people's ideas. Yeah.
It's like, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? And maybe it won't be exactly what you thought, but you'll have input, and then maybe it will be exactly, who knows?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
know.
Just like you said, possibilities.
Yeah. Well, Cassie, it's been so fun talking to you and getting to know you. I know that this is not going to be our last conversation. So you have a book, and then promote your book. And then if people that are listening, they're part of a company, or they want to get in touch with, having a workshop, like what can you do and how can they work with you?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. So visit my website at kassieconsulting.com. I've got several books about their virtual training and how do you do the technical side of virtual training as well. And the second edition of my first book is coming out in the fall of this year, 2022. And the other way to find out what's happening with me and to also connect with me is to come to this virtual training hero hangout. Also on my website, sign up, no charge, last Friday of every month. We are talking about all things virtual training and figuring out how to be better in this online world we now all find ourselves in.
Awesome. I'm going to join that this week. That's a great idea. I'm excited. And then you can meet more people that are doing, like you said, have all these cool ideas. So kudos to you. I love that you had this inspiration New Year's Eve in a hotel room when you probably were supposed to be somewhere fancy, right?
We were supposed to be in Maui. We were not in Maui.
But that's the best part about something unexpected. Look, something came out of it, an idea, and now you're doing this thing that other people are drawn to, all because, and who knows, maybe you wouldn't have had that idea if you were in Maui. You probably would have been focusing on beautiful Maui.
True. I would have been with the beach instead. So you find another way to do that later. And I am so thankful. And I love the hangout. It's very fun. And it's also very kind. I have a thing about kindness, and we're just helping each other. And there's a lot of love that's been flowing through the hangout too.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm definitely going to join now.
I know, right?
And then let's in our final comment, let's talk about Maui. Have you gotten there yet?
Oh yes, I've been many times. And in fact, because I mostly grew up on the West Coast, Hawaii I used to work for FedEx 100 years ago, and I used to build a jump seat. And it was very fun. But now that I live on the East Coast, I'm exploring Florida and the Caribbean a whole lot more. So I've been to both. I love them. I just love beaches and all that.
We still haven't gotten to Hawaii. My husband and I, we were going to go for our honeymoon 26 almost years ago, and we never got there. And so the goal is next spring or next fall.
Go.
It's on.
Maui's my favorite. Maui's got the glam side though. I like glam and shopping as much as I like nature. If you're full on nature, Kauai. If you like adventure, it's Hawaii, the Big Island. And if you like a combination of those things along with fancy shopping, then you're going to like Maui.
It all sounds beautiful to me. I can't wait to get there. So thank you so much, Cassie. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I know you're going to inspire someone that's listening or watching, and I can't wait to get to know you better.
Thank you so much, Julie. I feel the very same about you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone. Take care. Thanks for listening. I hope you loved this episode. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, review, and share it. I hope you were truly inspired. And for a little more inspiration, don't forget to pick up my book, Peace, Possibilities, and Perspective: 8 Secrets to Serenity and Satisfaction in Your Life and Career. I can't wait to get you love in your life.